And I pulled the chili dog out after eating the other dog, and your wife was like, "Chili dog tonight, bold choice."
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about games, entertainment, anime, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, Joe, and with me, the gentleman who made his way back from the Windy City without being shot, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Good. No, I was not shot um at all, which was not surprising. I wasn't expecting to be shot. Um, but yeah, it was good. Yeah. Yeah. So haven't seen you in person in a really long time, and just got a chance to go up and visit you and your family in the place where you live near Chicago. And it was great fun.
Yeah, it was awesome having you up here. We hadn't seen each other for like 7 years, so yeah, since last time
except
you hosted
except
us,
every other
actually.
except every other week. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah, in person,
yeah.
live, skinship.
Mm,
Yes, we'll throw in odd words like that to creep people out. But
yeah,
yes,
yeah. We did a bunch of cool stuff. It took me to the art institute in Chicago, which was really cool. And then okonomiyaki after that. That was really good. I hadn't had okonomiyaki. I think since Japan. It might have been that long. And then near concert and escape room. We did a whole bunch of stuff.
yep, the arcade.
Oh, the arcade, yeah, that
Yeah,
was really fun too. That game, yeah,
yeah,
we got to talk about. I got to talk about some of that. Like, we got to talk about the arcade in the video game section because that one game we played all together with your wife, that was cool. That was fun.
yeah. No, like I'm surprised. Violence didn't ensue with the merch line for Near
Dude,
at the Near
that
concert.
was harrowing. uh,
So, Rosemont Theater, the Near concert that's making its tour around the U.S. Uh, we got there maybe 15 minutes after parking opened,
this
and
is like an hour and
expecting to have
45 minutes before the show begins.
yeah before the show begins, and so like they happened to already open the doors to get inside the lobby of the theater, which was great. Not having to wait outside, and we immediately went in line. The next hour and like hour and a half at least we were in line for merch, and we finally made it to our seats after buying like a couple of things sold out, and sat down with like I think it was like 10 minutes to spare.
Well, when I
It was
was
pretty.
done, like when I was done shopping, so I bought my stuff and got out of line. I looked at my watch and it was 11 minutes. It was show started at 7 and it was like 6:49 or whatever. And the show started a little bit late anyway, but yeah, that line was insane. Um, it was that people were still standing it whenever the show started or whenever we left it. It was incredibly long. But watching like being super far up in the line after an hour and 20 minutes and seeing how far it was behind us, and people would kind of come by and they'd be looking for the start line because it was just whipping around back and forth, winding around back and forth, and just being like don't try, don't, you're too late.
It the merch if the merch was on the left side, the line went all the way to the right side, looped around all the way back to the left side, looped back around, and came back again. It was just like, uh, and people were still lining up. They were like, "Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wait on this." I'm like,
I don't
"In
know.
what world does that look like a good idea?" Uh, there's no way, especially those who are showing up just before, like people are still lining up. Maybe uh 15 minutes before concert starts, and I guess their goal was to be like, I'm willing to miss the first couple of songs because everyone else is probably going to scatter to grab to their seats, I guess. But
I
for us,
mean,
that was
yeah.
a nail biter for sure.
The first couple songs, they were kind of just like whatever. They were good and stuff, but they weren't putting the bangers out right then. It was a little later that they started to do that, but yeah, I guess that was the plan for people. I was like, whoa, that's I just couldn't believe it was that. I mean, we'd been there like we were there really early, and the line was still incredibly long, and we even thought that we were further up in it, and then they were like, no, it wraps around that corner that you can't see, and I was like, oh my gosh, it was incredible. But I
Yeah.
got some good merch. I was like, for the love of God, I shouldn't have waited on you guys because you guys had some ticket stuff to figure out. I should have, if I'd known, I would have just gone straight through and just jumped straight in line because then I probably would have gotten a 2B plushie. But
We missed, yeah, you missed out like maybe 6 people, ahead.
yeah, yeah, it would have, and I would have got you guys in line. I just didn't know the degree to which I needed to be
Well,
crazy about it.
we also were on the correct side. Had we not went all the way, we
I
entered
know
from the
we
right
circled
side. Had
around,
we,
yeah,
yeah, we went left just to go back to the right. I'm like, had we just went straight in a straight line, we would have hit the tail end of the line.
yeah,
Uh, you
yeah.
know.
But
But
I still
anyways,
got I still got an A2.
we did it.
I still got an A2 plushie, so that was good. It was just like, man, like it was literally like a few people ahead of us, and some dude bought the last B2 plushie, which is amazing that it held out that long. But say la vie.
Yeah. The one of the first things to go was like the tote bag.
Yeah, that went
But
fast. I wonder
yeah,
why.
I got myself a vinyl set, so
I
I was
did.
okay with that
I was
for a pretty decent
surprised.
price.
I
The thing
was
is, the
yeah,
merch was actually reasonably priced too, when you compare it to
online
just
store.
like Amazon retail, or yeah, I mean even some of their stuff off the Square Enix website. The only disappointment was the shirt that they were selling had no tour dates, tour listings, and that was the only thing that I really would have wanted. But because it was just a generic, like, here's the concert, but nothing saying about Chicago or anything like that, I'm like,
Uh,
yeah, I kind of like having the cities in the route, because they're like, yep, this is the one I went to. That's one of the reasons why I buy the concert tour shirts, is because I like just having the city that I went to.
yeah, yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
cool.
no, it was good having you, and it was a lot of fun. Uh, despite like my battery dying right when I needed to pick you up from the airport.
Oh yeah, that was pretty wild. Uh,
So
Yeah, but it worked out. Yeah, it ended up working out pretty well in general. But yeah, it was a fun trip. I got to have some Chicago style pizza. That was really good. I I my only regret I think from the trip is not forcing the purchase of another one of those pizzas because I got full enough, but I could have eaten more. And I wish that I had just gorged myself on like three more slices of that pizza and just let you guys take
you
the rest
can
home.
mail order it for frozen. So
Yeah,
just
you're
saying,
dang right. I'm just gonna have to mail order.
or you can just come back for one of the a different convention, right?
Nah,
Just come
just
back.
mail order. No, yeah, I will do both of that. Um, Giordano's mail order brides. Nope, pizza. I'll better
So
save that
yes,
for later.
it's one of those things that people scoff at, like a Giordano's or something like that, because it's like mainstream, but it is one of the easiest spots to bring people from out of town who've never tried any of that stuff. You did try Portillo's. Greg Miller's claim to fame when it
That
comes to food.
fucker, he was he was on he was on the wall. They had a picture of him on the wall at that Portillo's. I guess they have it everywhere or whatever. But I was just like, I guess it makes sense. He's famous enough, and he lives and breathes that restaurant. I thought it was
Yeah,
good. It was delicious.
it's a solid hot dog, but at the same time, it's just one of those things I'm like, yeah, I mean, they're more famous. I find that they're more famous for their cake, and for the first time, I've
Cake
actually had
is
a
good.
decent slice of cake.
Okay,
Usually, the cakes I have are like dried and crap. So like, I never understood why people like that cake, but hey,
this one was
at least you had
moist.
a good time.
It was good. That was a good cake. That was a good moist cake. I had two different hot dogs. It was the
You ate a lot during this trip. It was pretty
dude. I ate a
impressive.
ton. I ate so much. I was just hungry. because it's colder up there than it is here, and my body just reacts that way to the
You would
slightest.
shake so flippin' much. It was hilarious. I never like you were like a chihuahua or something like that,
It
just
is.
like all shivers all the time.
I have my window open here right now. It is 64 degrees outside. It's 75 degrees in my apartment, and I have not run the air conditioner or the heat or anything at all in days. It is February and the middle, like not even the middle of February, and it's sweltering here. So this is just what I'm used to. So being up there, it is exceedingly cold. Even I was okay. I mean, I had nothing to complain about. It was like
It
only
was actually really
it was
nice weather
very
when you came.
nice.
I'm not even
It was
kidding. It
very
was like
nice. I
it
know.
was really awesome.
That's why I don't live in that tundra that you live in because I can't handle. I mean, I've lived in places where it got down, below 20 and stuff pretty regularly, but it's just uh, it's just a thing that you have to be prepared for. And I didn't have a lot of room in my suitcase. I did think about bringing my snowshoes or my boots or whatever, and I was just like, those won't really fit, and it's so hot here. I can't really wear them. So I was like, eh. So I looked at the weather and I was like, it looks like it's going to be pretty good. So I'll just be a little cold sometimes. And anyway, but the thing I was going to say was about so you, me, and your wife were about to go to the Near concert, and we went to Portillo's first, and I got their regular Portillo dog, and then the and the chili dog, and I pulled the chili dog out after eating the other dog, and your wife was like, "Chili dog tonight, bold choice." And I was like, I hadn't even thought about it. I was like, you're right. This this is a rather bold choice, but it's a chili dog turned out good. Portillo's did not do me wrong. The fries were good. It was all good.
Yeah. All right. Like I said, it was wonderful having you here. Especially like I said, since the last two times we saw you in person. One of the times was an emergency. Like we landed in our flight got canceled on us in Hawaii, and luckily you were able to just emergency house us, which saved us a ton of cash.
Yeah,
Um,
that was wild.
yeah,
Well,
people were like,
yeah,
"Oh, it sucks that you were stuck in Hawaii." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Hawaii is great if you don't have to pay for hotels, but like when you're just staying at the airport hoping to get a flight out, yeah, that was terrible." So it was awesome that you helped us out then, and then you invited us, you let us stay with you during one of our wedding anniversaries. So
mm,
it was that also helped financially, like massive. So huge thanks, and we're glad to be able to take you around, show you some stuff, and granted, next time you have to come when it's warmer out so we can do some a lot more outdoor activities. But yeah,
yeah.
super great. And yeah, so let's move on to actual topics of games. So there's been a few things that have happened, a couple state of plays. So which one you want to talk about first?
We can do the older one first.
All right. So let's see. Sony ended up having a bigger state of play. Talking about a handful of new IPs and stuff like that. A lot of stuff coming out this year. A little bit like one or two things coming out in the future, but I think that they started that one out. I'm trying to remember what the first game they talked about was. I know the second game they talked about was the Stellar Blade, and this is not the first time they've shown this one, but they did go a bit more in depth about it. Uh, and this is I thought it was a Chinese developer at first, but apparently it's a Korean developer. Uh, and this game looks pretty awesome as far as visuals go. It's something along the lines of like uh, has that stylish action type of game like Bayonetta, or not quite a near, but something similar. It's just an action RPG. Like they showed a lot of neat mechanics about like leveling up and improving gear. Went into depth about the story. So and it's supposed to be coming out in April, like the end of April. So that's relatively soon. So it's kind of I went from not caring about that game at all, to being like, hey, you know what, that game looks like it'd be fun.
Well,
So
like when we started to watch that, I hadn't really seen anything beyond a couple, cutscene screenshots and stuff like that prior to this. So seeing what the game is made of and kind of like how it moves in gameplay and stuff, um, made me a lot more confident that it's going to be more than just a tech demo, that it's going to be that it's going to actually be like a game, and not just like, oh look, here's all these pretty graphics. Because really, honestly, for the past year that we've been seeing it, I've been like, it looks really cool, but it looks really beautiful, but there's been a lot of games through the decades that are like that, where they're just nice pixels for the time, but there's not really any substance there. And I was pretty sure that that's what this game was going to be for the most part. I was thinking, it's going to max be a seven. Um, and now I'm thinking, I think you and I, we kind of talked about this then, that probably from what we're seeing, um, the low would be a seven. I would think it's probably not gonna be a 10 or anything like that, but like I think it's gonna land probably 7 or 8, somewhere in there, um, on the final rating scale. So that was very heartening. I did see a lot of cool stuff in there, a lot of fun like intermittent stuff for you to do. You pointed out there's gonna be a crap load of outfits, and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
it's like if you like playing Fashion Souls, like every other scene in that game, they were showing lots of different costumes, and I'm hoping they do the thing they do in some MMOs where you can switch the outfit you like, but keep the stats to the others, so you can just like reskin things
Yeah, I would hope so too.
because that would, yeah, I mean, but they really seem to really lean into it and have fun with it. I'm kind of curious about more of the story, but like so long as the gameplay is solid, I mean, a lot of people are just gonna like it just because it plays something similar to what looks like a Devil May Cry. It's just um, so I you can't really mess that up. You can, but it's a safe formula to have, and so that's why I think it's a safe bet. So long as they don't really do anything too crazy, or if it's ain't not if it's not broken, it should be like I said, it's a
Yeah,
safe seven.
I mean, yeah,
So
yeah. In some ways, they are kind of coming. It depends, but it looks like they're coming to eat Platinum Games lunch. Because this is Platinum Games doesn't make really pretty games like that so much anymore. But if they can make it look that good on just the cosmetic aspect, and it plays like a Platinum game, then yeah, then that'll be a really good mix, and it could be a very good game. I don't know. I'm still very cautiously optimistic about it, because there's too many variables here. There's just too many unknowns.
it is like I said, it's the team that's making it is called Shift Up, Korean development team. So once again, I went from not caring to like actually pretty interested.
Yeah,
So that I mean, at least if anything else, the marketing did its job.
yeah,
Uh,
I certainly have.
uh, yep. Oh, the first game that I forgot was Helldivers 2,
Oh
which
yeah,
is I believe out by now.
it
Just
is.
haven't had time to get into it at all. I really like the first Helldivers. I think the second one probably won't disappoint. Just unfortunately, the first one was nice because you can play two players on a single screen. I doubt that's going to be capable of third person game. So yeah, I'll just have to skip out on this one for now. And there's just so much other stuff on the plate. So
Yeah,
uh,
there's a guy at work that got it. Yeah, he didn't play Helldivers. I assumed he played Helldivers 1. So I was talking to him about it, and he was like, "Oh, I didn't play Helldivers 1." I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, but he said it was really fun so far. Him and his friends are playing, I think, on PC, and yeah, definitely on PC, because he was like, whenever I signed up for the game, it made me sign up for a PlayStation account, and I was like, I don't want this, and they're like, you have to have this to play the game, and he was like, oh, okay, so, so he's a hardcore PC gamer, so anyway, but he didn't have any like dog in the fight, as it were, and so, but he thought it was good so far, so that's hard, that's good. I I'm kind of excited to play it at some point, with you and whoever else, because I think that's like where the game lives and dies. But it might be a while, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the first one, the multiplayer is super fun, and calling in ammo resupply drops or just other things and accidentally squishing your own allies because you lost yourself on the map or
Like
something. It was so
chaos,
much
yeah.
ridiculousness to be had in that game, but it was super fun. Yeah. One of the next game that they mentioned about was the new remake of Sonic Generations. Uh, this one is now with Shadow, and
Oh
so,
yeah.
Shadow's now coming back in the fold more. I believe that's the new aspect to the new Sonic movie or whatever. So, yeah, that's all. Like, I don't really have a stake in that game. Like, all right. After that was the trailer for ZZZ. Uh, that's the guys who make the Honkai Star Rail games.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
So that one gave me a lot of like Jet Set Radio vibes. Like the just the quality and the way things looked. I'm not really sure what to expect from the game. It's supposed to be some sort of like MMO free to play thing. Which if it's by the was at the home. I can't remember the name of the team though. Honkai or something like that, or no, that's the other game they make. But anyways, that team makes a lot of gotcha games. So I'm like, oh, yep, there's probably going to be a lot of things to buy. Um,
I mean, as much
it,
as I don't play that much Genshin Impact, but as much as I do play of it, I haven't had to buy anything. The developers are MiHoYo, and then at least for Genshin, MiHoYo, and then Shanghai Miao Turing Film Technology Company. That's kind of a mouthful, but anyway, like I think they do a pretty good job. I guess when you get really far into the game, you get really deep into the game, and you're playing every day for hours and hours and hours, then yeah, you're gonna run into the paywalls and stuff and start having to pay things, or if you want the cosmetics and stuff. But I don't know, like I hear people complain about it, saying, "Oh, these games are good except for the 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 premium aspects of them." But I think that if you're gonna do it, this is probably the best way to do it. It's like, what do you want? I gotta.
So it's it's MiHoYo and the HoYoverse
That's it.
companies or whatever. So they're the ones who are behind it. I think it'll be fine. It's just they have a very unique style and it's kind of neat. I'm just not really sure what the gameplay is going to be like. That's really they didn't really show much else about it. Then there was after that they did Foam Stars, which is out
Uh,
now,
yeah.
free for those who have PS Plus. Uh, I don't care. That's just I have no need for that kind of game. So, uh, and then they showed Dave the Diver, with which I didn't care about either. I just know like it got noticed last year, and then they introduced like the second half of that trailer, which is um, instantly recognizable for me because they play the Godzilla theme. And I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute. And yeah, sure enough, Godzilla comes out of the water. And I'm like, yeah, I'm automatically interested now. I'm not gonna buy it, but it has me interested. So that was pretty fun. I was not expecting of all the things to have a Godzilla tie-in, Dave the Diver. So yeah, good for them for pulling that one out of their hat. Uh, then there was after that they mentioned uh, the that RPG V Rises,
Oh yeah,
Rising,
yeah.
V
V
Rising,
Rising, yeah,
yeah, which you knew about a little bit more about than I did. So why don't
yeah,
you explain that one?
yeah. I'd heard about this game. I saw this game come to early access on Steam. I'd heard that it was good, and it was like, I remember it being like on sale or something like that for a minute. But it was still just too much. Anyway, it's you're a vampire lord, and you're basically building your castle and your fiefdom or whatever you want to call it, and so you're fighting, and you come back and you build your castle and stuff like that. So um, people really like it, and I guess it's finally coming out off of early access. I don't know what systems it's going to be on. I assume it's going to be on at least Steam, obviously, but I don't know if it's going to be on. I guess if this was a state of play, then it's going to be on PlayStation. So it'll probably be everywhere then. But yeah, this was a game that looked pretty good back then, and I think it might. I doubt I will frontline it and pick it up early, but it looked interesting enough to say the least.
Yeah. It was, the I didn't realize what I was looking at first, and then when they had the whole like castle building elements and being able to essentially make your uh make your fort, I was just like, okay, that's actually kind of neat twist than just a normal isometric Diablo style game.
Yeah.
It did most definitely got my interest. I'd never heard about it beforehand, and yeah, it looks like it'll be a decent setup. So after that, they talked about uh, they had some messages from Konami, Silent Hill team. So they mentioned the Silent Hill short message, which is a supposed to be a a free to play uh, short game on you can download it on PlayStation right now. The From what I've heard, it's only a handful of hours. Like just like two or something like that is what people are saying, and it's a unique experience. A lot of people are of course comparing it to PT, and it's kind of like you either love it or hate it.
Hmm.
So I haven't had a chance to play this one yet, but if it's only a couple hours long, most definitely I want to give this a shot. Um, then they rolled into talking about the remake for Silent Hill 2, um, which looks good, but they really leaned into the action, like a lot of shooting in this one. And I'm like, that game was never a big shooter. Like, so I'm wondering if they're trying to go into like the Resident Evil remake territory, um, trying to
Yeah.
cash in on some of that.
Yeah. It's yeah. I mean, I understand like what they're trying to do, but it makes me nervous. I feel like they're yeah they're they're trying to sell Silent Hill, and I get that they need to do that, but that's not really what Silent Hill was about from what I understand. And so I am sensing nerd rage is going to build up and bellow out whenever this game comes out. I mean, if it's really good shooting and they nail the old, aspects of Silent Hill with like the psychological horror and stuff like that. They really nail that, the atmosphere, then all will be forgiven and people will just be like, "Oh, the shooting's great and that's just a, awesome part of it." Um, but I'm afraid that they're going to take away from the other aspects that are core Silent Hill um, features in order to make it more of a shooter, more of an actiony game. But I don't know. It remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious about how they're going to play it out. It's one of those things that some of the some of the big horror with the old game, the original game was uh, the lacking graphical quality. So a lot of it
Yeah.
was masked behind the fog and not being able to see what's attacking you like with crystal clarity. So it's like having it be less clear, your mind kind of automatically fills in those blanks, making it more terrifying than it really is.
Yeah.
Um, and by it having just straight up presented to you like this is what it looks like, some of the monsters were just like I don't know. I don't think it's as effective. It's kind of hard to say. It's one of those.
It
It's
does.
just the nature of us upgrading something that's old, right?
The game does
Um,
seem too bright and too clear to me. It needs to be like I feel like the stuff from the early parts of that I saw from the Resident Evil 2 remake that was proper. It was really dark, and it was hard to. And it just felt very creepy. And like the Silent Hill stuff, don't have quite enough fog, and it's just a little bit everything's a little bit too. There's not enough shadows. Things are kind of filled in too much. Um, and I don't know. I'm just getting weird vibes. That's all.
yeah, I can see that. That was like I said. It's one of those. It'll be seen. I think it'll be well received in the end. I think because people are just thirsty enough for a game, and if they make it, I guess their own. Like the Resident Evil remakes. You can change it because you still have the originals to play off of. You still have their less than adequate HD remakes, um, but
Hmm.
you still can experience that in its own way. And then if they make it unique enough, I think people will accept it.
Yeah.
So all right, and after that, they was it uh, they creators of Bioshock was it Ken Levine, right? they came out with a bigger trailer for Judas. Um,
Oh yeah.
so if you like BioShock, this is straight up the alley. The very much the art style and a lot of the concepts, having special powers given from one way or the other. Uh, having that kind of creepy, like kind of horror element. This very much seems like straight up from like the BioShock playbook. So I'm kind of curious how they'll do anything unique, because that's the big thing, is it feels very much uh another one of these, I guess, is but it looks amazing, and I personally like BioShock 1 a lot. Wasn't a big fan of BioShock 2. Never played the DLC, Minerva's Den, which apparently is touted as being like one of the best DLCs just of
Ever.
all time.
Yeah.
So uh and then BioShock Infinite was a very different game. So this is very much like BioShock 1, kind of horror, but I guess it's you're, instead of under the water, you're in space. So either way, uh, breaching windows will spell death. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about it. But at the same, just because I do like, uh, it was a type of horror that, like, it was more suspenseful than anything, and yeah, it should be fun. For me, the next one was pretty exciting. I'm a fan of the franchise, but they finally mentioned Metro Awakening for
Oh yeah.
VR.
Mm.
So this is done by Vertigo Games. They've done quite a few things in the VR space. Um, these guys here, it kind of leaked just beforehand that Metro Awakening was going to be coming out, but it obviously being confirmed during watching this, and uh, being a big fan of PlayStation VR, I think this will be a really good game. Uh, I'm kind of excited to see how they do it. I personally really like the Metro franchise. Uh, just the concept of it was always really cool and really neat. I did not play the newest one, unfortunately. So uh, but this is a prequel to it all, so it doesn't matter. So people can come in fresh and not need to worry about it. Yep. After that, they mentioned Legendary Tales. Uh, this is a lot of people are excited about this one, for the fact that it's like a full-fledged RPG in VR,
Mm.
for PSVR 2, and I think it's been out on PC VR systems for a bit, but they kind of went radio silent because they put in a lot of effort to make this game. The reviews have been pretty positive on it. Uh, it's not really my cup of tea, I guess. It's very much a run-based game. You can go in, but if you wanted something that you really wanted to spec out and like full on upgrade magic, or uh, become like build out any character you want for fantasy, it's kind of like a Skyrim, but way more in depth. And yeah, this just came out yesterday officially. So yeah, Legendary Tales, the VR game that people have been wanting. Unfortunately, it'll be really divisive because of the price tag. I think I don't actually know what it originally came out on, or officially came out on, but it was rumored that it was going to come out as like 55, $60. And PSVR 2 owners are kind of spoiled with shorter experiences, but you're talking about like $20,
Yeah.
roughly. And so a lot of people are like $55, like forget that. But then they want a full-fledged like experience. So
Yeah. You're gonna
pick
have
your
to pay
battles.
for it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, and a lot of people, so a lot of the VR community is just kind of like, we should support the game, because that way you can try to get more experiences like that. And I hear you. Just unfortunately, uh, this style game isn't really for me. I mean, it's nice that you can do multiplayer in this one. Uh, I have no one else to play PSVR with, because I'm a loner. But I did try to get you into PSVR, so we'll talk about that later. Um, yeah, and then I guess on the state of play, they also mentioned Dragon's Dogma 2. You never played the first one, did you?
No.
I played a bit of the first one, and it was really fun, but also it was stupid hard for me. I'd never played anything that quite like it at the time, and so I just remember it being ridiculously hard, and me never like. I never got very far into it just because I kind of hit a wall. Like I tried doing a bunch of stuff at night, which you aren't really supposed to, not until you get a better grasp of the game. And it's just like I couldn't. I think at the time I was trying to play Dragon's Dogma like different game. Like I wasn't playing the way you're supposed to. So I that was on me. Um, but I just know it has such a great cult following, and so a lot of people are going to be pretty happy with that. That one comes out at the end of March. Um, then was it the Rise of the Ronin got a pretty big reveal too. They went into depth about that. Team Ninja, you know, showing that game off. Both that and Dragon's Dogma both come out March 22nd. At least for now. We'll see if any of them get pushed back. Uh, Until Dawn, they talked about coming out with a remake for that for PC and PS5. I mean, sure, the game was fun, and having it look better, then why not? Uh, and then they went into a big thing at the end about uh, Kojima and Death Stranding 2 on the beach.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I want to know what did you think about that? Because that was pretty
I
funny.
I don't know. He's got such good ideas mixed with such ridiculous stupidness. Um, yeah, I. He is so weird. He is just he is he is just so weird, and I don't know. I don't know. I think he's up his own ass pretty hard. Probably maybe more than anybody I can think of off the top of my head in video games. He reminds me of like a video game version of Steve Jobs in some way. I don't think he's probably as mean as Steve Jobs, but something about him and the way that he does stuff, and he tries to make things more than what they are. Like he said that when people were asking what kind of genre the Death Stranding was, he was like, "It's a Strand game." And I'm like, and he's kind of right. I mean, it was. I mean, from what I understand, it was kind of different, but you could put it in other. You could fit it in another genre if you really wanted to, or a couple of different genres if you wanted to. It's just that kind of stuff that irks me, and I don't know. I know enough about the story of Death Stranding, and I just feel like a lot of his antics are they're not really they're not really mysterious anymore. Um, and I don't know. So I don't know. It looks cool. It looks like it'll be a good whatever that is. If you're into Death Stranding, I guess you'll enjoy Death Stranding too. It looks more of that. Um, but I'm also just sort of like I just kind of roll my eyes at it. But the freaking guy, I mean, it's just weird. Like it is. There's something that I hate about it, but also something that I really respect. Because like in that trailer, the guitar guy, I mean, is just
So that is from the first game.
the
That
guitar.
character.
Okay.
So they're
Well,
a returning character.
anyway.
So yeah, it's one of those things that like I give him credit for world building and coming up with these crazy ideas. The gameplay is not maybe doesn't hit stick the landing like the concept. Like he's great at coming up with an idea, but the fact that he's trying to make this thing like um I don't know. He like I said tries to make things more impressive than what they might really be. Uh,
Hmm.
Now, that was like I said, they did a big talk about this one, and that's fine. Didn't play the. I tried playing Death Stranding, could not really get into it. I played maybe 10, 15 hours, and in the end, I just was not happy with it. And it just wasn't for me. It kind of made me go, all right, I think I'm done with Kojima. To be honest, like, but the visuals, like the quality is amazing. They're using, I think they might still be using the Decima engine, which is like the Horizon engine.
Mm,
So that like, anyways, it just the facial caption is amazing.
yeah.
And I wish I just wish it was a new IP or a new set of ideas because I don't care about anything that happened in the first game. I don't want to follow up with it at all. Uh, but I would like to know the story in a weird way. So, but it's just too much effort. Uh, and then of course at the end of this, uh, they had a little more discussion and essentially talking to Kojima about the fact that coming out with a new action espionage, not tactical because that's Metal Gear, but action espionage game. Talking about how it's his life work and how he wants to make this into like media, like movie, TV, or something
Oh
like that.
yeah.
Wants to make a clothing line, which he's done with Death Stranding, and his concept of fashion is meh. So I mean, it's great if you want to do a sci-fi run or something like that. Like I want to make my own, I don't know, future punk line, but it's not practical. I don't know. Once again, up his own ass is the correct term I think you
I
used
just feel
before.
like he's trying to sell me something. That's
Oh yeah,
and like I mean, it used to be like these days. I think used to be it was like he's making a game. It's going to be a cool game, and yeah, there's some weird stuff around it. But now I just feel like you're trying to sell me something that I don't necessarily know if I want to buy, and you're trying to sell it to me on other merits. It just that eye narrowing, that Futurama eye narrowing, GIF is just comes to mind. It's just like I don't really know, and I'm just not that into whatever the Death Stranding. I know enough about the game, so no, I'm not.
yeah. Well,
Okay,
but the new action espionage game is
yeah.
that Physant
Oh yeah.
Physant. Yeah, it was just uh
Oh, I
they
mean, I
have
guess there's
Columbia
so
House.
many.
Sony's putting all their money into it, so he's going to get the movie. They're essentially going to do the Halo or the was that the Quantum Break thing or something like that, I suppose. And
If I was Sony, I would
uh
not be doing that. I'd be like, look, you need to show that people love this before we make a movie out of it. But I don't know. Maybe they know something that I don't.
well, this is his life's work, so therefore, like this might be his swan song. I mean, we got years before it comes out.
Yeah.
Um, because they in the very beginning they said like 2024 and beyond, and this is the and beyond. Like I think it was 2025 is Death Stranding, and then whenever that's done, because that's going to get pushed back to 2026 or whatever, and then this is when his action espionage franchise gets off the ground. So yeah,
Yeah.
they just locked him in for a while. People go gaga over his stuff, and it's a safe bet. I mean, if anything else, like I said, he will come out with something really weird. And maybe having it in video format might be better overall than having it in game format, depending on what that is. But
At least it'll be
uh,
quicker to digest. It won't be 60 hours. It'll be 2. And it's like, okay,
you'll
that was
have yeah,
awesome. Oh, that sucked. And then it doesn't matter because it's only 2 hours of your life that you're not going to get back.
you're gonna have your own Kojima cinematic universe and have fun with that.
Yeah.
But yes, all right, and that was really it for the first state of play. And then they were like, "Yeah, guess what, guys? If you were waiting for Final Fantasy VII
Wait a little longer.
Rebirth or whatever, that's going to be next week." And that just happened. So, all right, let's go ahead and take a break, and we'll be right back, and then we can talk about Final Fantasy VII. All right, and so with the second state of play that happened for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, um, it was about 20-minute long showing, and yeah, this actually took me kind of by surprise because, of course, it was going to look great, but for me, it got me from not caring to also kind of interested in. It's one of those things that it's a conflict between nostalgia and practicality. Like, I'm not going to play this. I know I'm not, but I really want to now. But I also really don't. um, I played and beat their remake, and I was disappointed, I guess. I mean, I was intrigued by some of the new things that they were adding story wise and how they were going to change things up. So that's where my curiosity really comes in with this. Um, and I just, I was not a big fan of the gameplay. I understand a lot of people like it. It's just for some reason it just doesn't sit with me as well. And then of course they came out with the Intergrade, which I originally played Final Fantasy on the PS4, so Intergrade wasn't available, um, and I wasn't going to play through it again. So I just like, yep, I'm kind of done with it. I know I'm not going to sit through that again, and I'll probably wait till the whole series is done, and then they come out with
Box set.
another remastered of the first couple of
Mm.
games, and like enjoy all the new whatever PS6 quality edition because
But by
this
then, they will have announced the remake of the remake.
yeah, exactly. Hopefully all on a handful of like ultra Blu-ray discs or something because that's one of the things is this Rebirth is going to be on 2 discs. It said.
Yeah.
Uh, I give them credit for giving proper expectations during this. I mean, they tell you how long they tell you from what point of the story it goes till in the trailer, like or in this state of play, so that at least you know to kind of roughly where the story is going to end. Um, but the question, the whole big thing is they're switching up. They seem to be switching up a lot of the story from what you know from the original, PlayStation game. So, uh, alternate timelines, maybe other parallel stuff. Who knows? But they really did a good job about saying like showing you all the side quests and activities you could do, remaking old arcade games, adding new ones. I mean, they do a fun little tribute nod to the graphics of the PlayStation One Final
Mm.
Fantasy VII, where the characters are all voxel like or whatever. So that was a pretty fun take on it, and yeah, they really go ham on the Junon, like the Soldier March, which I had completely kind of forgot about. Then I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. You got graded on TV ratings depending on how well you marched in the parade. And I specifically remember now out of nowhere it just hit me as like, oh yeah, you didn't actually want to get top marks because if you got top marks, like they'd give you like I think a piece of equipment, either a weapon or armor. But actually, if you got second place or whatever, the because there's a depending on what your score was, the second place one I'm pretty sure was a piece of materia that you couldn't get right away. So it was actually more valuable to get the materia. So I remember you like making sure you didn't do it perfectly and you screwed up just enough to get that tier 2 scoring. But yeah, that I don't know. It's just they really seem to like go ham on that scene because it looked like Yuffie was also maybe a part of the march, and then Red 13. They showed 13 in a soldier outfit,
Yeah.
uh, giving like finger guns or something. I'm like, wow, they're really going silly on this for sure. And they also, they do a lot of like I said, proper expectations of like, hey, you'll be able to do these events over here. You can maneuver, wander all these places. And by the way, when you go to Nibelheim, you can go to the Shinra Mansion, and that's where Vincent's going to be. Just letting you guys know, you know,
Yeah.
no secret cave, no secret, mountain cave. It's literally just going to be at the mansion. I'm like, all right. Everyone's fan favorite from Hot Topic is Vincent. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm I don't really know what to think about this game. I really tried to enjoy the first one, fell off of it. Um I would buy this on PS5, I guess. Obviously I don't know. It just the first one I don't know. I don't think I just don't think I want to play this. Um it seems cool in some aspects. It's like, man, that looks kind of cool, but if it was reskinned as like a with like a different I don't know IP on the front, I'd be like, okay, I really want to play this. But since it's Final Fantasy, I don't know. I just don't like it. I don't I don't I don't like what they're really doing with the characters. Everything's just too filled in. Um, I don't like it, and I don't want to play it. Like, I wish I did, but the more I see this, I'm just not interested. Um, it's not that it looks bad; it looks good and stuff. It's just I don't know. I don't want to. I don't want to play it anymore. Um, I'd
See,
rather,
I kind of wish it was its own thing and not.
yeah,
I wish it wasn't. I wish it was like a new Final Fantasy game and not tied to seven. Because unfortunately, uh, as you mentioned before with Kojima, this property is also up its own butt for sure.
yeah,
I mean, it's but when I saw a black chocobo climbing the mountain, I'm like, yes. And then you see the blue chocobo going across the water. I'm like, okay, this is I remember this is like a large majority of my middle school. Like, you
yeah,
know, just go ahead and like I bought the PlayStation 1 and Final Fantasy, and I didn't even have enough money to get a memory card.
yeah,
So that was how badly I wanted it. And I only got the PlayStation during that holiday season because someone didn't pick it up during they I actually went to talk to like whatever department store, and I went to their like service counter and they're like, "Well, we have one on layaway for someone else, but they're not going to pick it up. So, like they're not, like we tried contacting them or something, they weren't picking up. So we'll just sell it to you." And I'm like, like cool. I had to borrow a memory card from a friend. That's how
yeah,
I ended up playing this game. Um, but yeah, they're adding so much to it that like I find it interesting, but also completely not necessary. I mean, they have a music little side mini game where it's kind of reminds me of The Last of Us uh part 2, I think it was, with the guitar,
yeah.
like, and I'm like, Are that's completely not necessary." I mean, you got they go into depth about talking things like as if it was new, which I found kind of funny. They're like, "Yeah, you can go on a date at Gold Saucer." I'm like, "You were always able to go on that date at Gold
I
Saucer,
I know
and
some
you
of
were."
you were excited about going on the date.
Yeah, but they made it sound like you're like, "Yeah, and you gotta do stuff to get their affection level." I'm like, "You were always able that was always a thing in the original game. You bought the flower from Aerith, and you got a point there. You gave the flower, you don't give it to Marlene, you give it to Tifa. Guess what? Tifa, then you get a point for Tifa." I mean, and that was, like, certain key aspects. If you play your cards right, you can get Aerith, Tifa. If you really screwed up, you can get Barrett, as your date night, prospect, which is super funny because when he jumps in the roller coaster, his arms hang over the edge of the railings. Yeah, it was that thing was always there, and you can get I think Yuffie, and I thought Red 13 was a possible, but I actually don't think I ever did that. I think I did the other ones though because I played that game like that much.
Yeah,
Um, but like I said, so like seeing all that hit a lot of nostalgia vibes for sure. And it looks, like I said, it looks incredible, but that's kind of what you're expecting from them at this point. Um, they're mentioned, they kind of name drop or they do some old concept like, yeah, there's stories from the old games, and they're mentioning some of the side quests. I'm like, yeah, you know what? That was pretty forgettable, but I'm glad you mentioned like that one of the childhood friends. He's like a childhood friend from Nibelheim. Then you meet him in the slums, and now he's later on at Costa del Sol or whatever. And yeah, so they bring emphasis on that. They're like, hey, guess what? Now you can watch all your favorites in swimsuits now. I'm like, yeah, that's not necessary, but okay.
yeah,
They're really. I mean, I honestly don't think there's going to be a way to get this game. I think it was originally supposed to be done in 3. And I'm like, that game should never have been done in 3. It should be done in 4 at least. But at the same time, uh, Midgar shouldn't have been the first game. That first one was like a tech demo. So I don't know.
yeah,
Like
yeah,
the game's going to do good. So many people are hyped about this. I wish I was more hyped about it, but once again, because I have to play on a different platform than I originally played on, my save data. I don't save data probably don't mean squat in this one, but like I'm from an era where I remember playing like certain games and having your saves crossover. Um, but right now there's a demo for this one going on, and I believe if you actually complete the demo, you actually get like a MacGuffin or something for the actual game.
yeah,
So I kind of want to test out the demo, but once again I don't like the gameplay for that, like the action concept. It was one of those things I just button mashed my way through, and I was like, "Yep, this isn't that great. I don't really care to do any of the extra battles." Um, the to get the other summons. I'm like, it just seemed like by the time the game ended, I couldn't wait for it to be over with.
yeah,
And I was so that's I was seriously like, oh wait, the Shinra Tower's under attack. Avalanche is coming in, slight spoilers. But then all of a sudden you're like, now you're gonna have this whole section with uh Hojo. Like, yeah, not only that, but you're gonna have to go in different segments in Hojo's like lair, or like while we were being attacked, and like you're quote unquote pressed for time.
Yeah.
And like it was this whole extra side story, just irked the crap out of me. So but they're really trying to weave this into like Advent Children territory, and like they made certain connections to Advent Children already. So and they're showing a lot of Zach in this trailer, all this information, and um, one of the things is like Genova apparently uh, being able to like confuse you and and appear as other people.
Oh yeah.
So my thought. All right, so if you don't want my future theory, spoiler possibly is don't listen then. Just skip this part. That's probably the big death scene is going to be, instead of being Sephiroth coming down from above, it's going to be Cloud mistakenly stabbing someone thinking they're Sephiroth. You know,
Yeah, that would suck, but
and
yeah, they might do that.
that'd be a new timeline. There you go. Because they're showing Zach, which makes him seem like he's alive. So who knows? There's going to be some super divergence at the end or something like that, right? Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't
But
have high
it
hopes.
looks awesome, and I really wish it wasn't this epic long thing. I mean, my life can't afford multiple games that take like 40 plus hours just to finish one complete story.
Yeah,
So
yeah. I don't know. I yeah. I mean, a couple of years ago, I was very much into like getting into the Final Fantasy VII remake, but I don't think they're going the direction with it that I would have wanted. Um, and I think it probably just there's probably no way to do it the way that I would have wanted. Um, I think it's just too much of a thing. There's um, too much history with the game, and it's like bringing a book to a movie. It's never going to be quite right. No.
yeah, but it's one of those things that they're trying to make it. They've been trying, like they've made so many other side properties to this franchise. You kind of forget about how big the Final Fantasy VII, universe is when it comes to like the Dirge of Cerberus and the prequel stuff and all that, like First Soldier and all that. So there's it kind of spun out of control at some point, and it's in line with like if you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, where you have all this other side content stuff, uh, and only true fans will really go through it all. And I'm like, yeah, just give me the abridged version at this point. That's why I think I'm going to skip this one, and I would actually prefer to wait till whatever their complete edition is, and kind of go through that in one go. Like, but by that time, who knows? I think the franchise will run itself into the ground. That's what my fear is, because Kingdom Hearts was a neat thing until they ran that sucker into the ground, and that's never going to finish. Um, and that's kind of what I'm feeling. I'm getting the vibe off of this, though. To their
Yeah.
credit, Rebirth has come out way faster than anything else Square has come out as far as a sequel goes in a long time.
Well, they can't
So
really push Final Fantasy VII fans around the way they can push Kingdom Hearts fans around. It's just it just wouldn't work. But yeah, I don't think it's ever going to end. Well, I think it will take probably 4 games. Um, and I would be. They just don't want to let anything go. I mean, it's just a cash cow, and people are going to keep buying it, and they don't want to let it go. So, uh,
yep. Once again, I'm expecting a PS like 6 or whatever the next Sony iteration, and
yeah,
that's when they're going to come out with the final venture slash the ultimate package. All upresed and blah blah blah. So that's kind of what I'm suspecting. That's it's
hey,
still too early to tell, and it's all just me speculating out out the wazoo. But that would be my safe bet.
yeah,
All right, last bit of news that we're going to talk about is just a small one. Evo. So the Evo lineup has come about, and we're looking at just some of the stuff a little obvious. You got the Final Fantasy, or not Final Fantasy, Street Fighter 6. Um, and then but the new upcomer Tekken 8 just come out, and they're going to have that there. You got the Guilty Gear Strive, uh, King of Fighters 15. We have um, Games, Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising. The uh, I always forget how they acronym this whole thing, but it's the Under Night in Birth 2. Like that, they always have a game from that franchise there of late. It seems a lot of people really seem to like it, and for their nostalgic throwback game, they're having Street Fighter Third Strike.
Mm.
So uh, that is kind of a cult favorite, it seems. But yeah, I mean, all I gotta say is we gotta start the Patreon now to see about getting you, Nick, to Evo.
Mm.
You gotta participate. I mean, you've had the fighting stick for a while. You've been really, I know
Not using it.
you
Yeah.
actually you've shown interest in Tekken 8 prior to it coming out. Uh, but
Yeah.
yeah, like
I think this.
from everything I heard, it's all right.
It's. I think it's done. I don't think I can do fighting games. They're just. They're too daunting. Um, you have to play too much to get reasonably decent at them, and I just don't have it in me. Maybe someday. But I already have Street Fighter 6. So if I'm going to play any fighting game for the rest of this generation, it's probably going to be that. It's probably just going to be that. If I get the bug to play a fighting game, I'm just going to go back to that. And for like a month or whatever, and then bounce off, and then come back again or whatever. Um, I have enjoyed. I did enjoy some Tekken 7, and I did enjoy some Guilty Gear Strive. That was pretty cool. But I don't have whatever it takes to play enough of fighting games to get really good at them.
Yeah, this one's doing gangbusters though, as far as ratings go. I mean, Metacritic's given PlayStation 5 a 90, and then you got a 92 on PC, Xbox 89. So yeah, it's doing awesome from everything. I mean, uh, I it's one of those things that I would like to get into, but I always fall off real hard.
Yeah.
I followed Tekken 7 like through the first handful of DLCs, and I think the last like couple DLC packs I just never got. Um, the and this one completing the whole story, like the Brian Cox, like I think it was Brian Cox who did the quick synopsis trailer.
Mhm.
That was pretty awesome. Just pretty much saying like, here the story so far,
Yeah.
and that got pretty hyped. And uh, I have at least one or two other friends who are like, I'll get it if you get it. And I'm like, dude, I'm not getting it. I know that I'm not going to get around to playing it, and you guys are better than me. So I'm not just going to pick a game just to get my teeth kicked in by you guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's is one of the things I appreciate. Just I've never been a good Tekken player. I'm not a big fighting game player in general, but I do better on like a Street Fighter concept. But yeah, so Evo always fun to watch for sure. You get to see some really cool things. Uh, I always forget the lingo, and then I'm like, oh, that's right. They throw in some really odd words in there. It's like watching like a Dota or League of Legends match. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. They have special terms that you always forget about, and then like it kind of comes back and like I should feel bad. I should just feel dirty for knowing what these mean.
Mm.
This is a vocabulary that should not be in anyone's repertoire, and
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a waste of knowledge is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I can feel that way sometimes.
but what we can do is we can make a bracket, and like watching the brackets, watching people like I said high level, watching anyone at high level play is always pretty awesome, and so it's fun to watch. I still say give it a shot. Um, and yeah, it's just one of those things that a few years ago, I remember like, hitboxes, they're really popular now. I'm like, I would really like the idea of learning how to use a hitbox, but I'm not spending. I'm like, you can make your own, but I'm like, I'm not going to do that. Nor am I going to spend like $400 on buying a hitbox.
I know it's a whole universe. Fighting games are almost their own universe.
Yep. All right. Now on to what we've been playing. All right. So since you came by, we got to have you play all sorts of little VR games. So,
Yeah,
um,
so you hooked me up to the VR, PSVR 2, and I got to play first of all Beat Saber, and then Synth Rider, and then Red Matter 1, and a little bit of Gran Turismo 7. And
Yep.
yeah, I'm definitely way more of a believer now. I'd only had one other mini VR experience, and I was like, this is all right, but it's kind of whatever. But this was a lot more interesting. I did get, kind of VR sick playing Red Matter, so I definitely understand. I definitely understand that a bit better now. But yeah, those were all really cool games. I like Beat
You also
Saber.
played Pistol Whip, I believe, right?
Oh yeah, I forgot to play some Pistol Whip as well. I really liked Beat Saber, but I think I might. I don't know. I liked Synth Rider a lot too. But I'm super into synth, in the first place. So, um, both of those had good game mechanics and styles and stuff. I like the look of Beat Saber more, to be honest. But yeah, it's PSVR 2 is pretty cool. I'm definitely like, okay, they come up with a few more different things here and there, and it's definitely something I can see myself enjoying a lot more of. So yeah, I was really glad to play it. Thank you very much for hooking me up to that machine. It was fun.
Yeah, it was pretty fun watching get the grasp of it. Unfortunately, not enough time during, like, we had a full docket, so we didn't actually get enough time to even let you try um, any of the real shooting games or anything like that. So it's uh, you didn't get to try, like, unfortunately, the only real haptic triggers you got to use were for the most part in Pistol Whip, and I don't think that's too much in there. So yeah. But hopefully, like I said, if you can find a good deal on that, I would recommend jumping in, and if you're even remotely interested, because there's a lot of good stuff out there. Um, and yeah, so other than that, we did take you to the arcade,
Yeah.
and I know you wanted to mention this a bit. So
Yeah, so I'll talk
uh,
about pinball first. I'd never played much pinball, here and there, as you do, but this is the first time I got to really play like a lot. Well, because we had the ticket that we bought would allow us to go into their pinball space as well, and I got to play. You pay an amount and then you get to just play as much as you want. So I got to play a bunch of different of those games, and that was really cool. I got to kind of get good at a couple different machines because I was able to play long enough, and I'd never been able to do that before. I was like, okay, this is why pinball is kind of fun because you can. It always seemed to me like just a kind of a crapshoot. Like it's gonna go down the chute at some point and whatever. But I was able to control it in some places um, and get some pretty high scores sometimes. So that was super fun. Um, but yeah. So besides that, we also played. What was the game called?
all right, so we ended up going to the arcade called the Galloping Ghost, and so they have their arcade, and then next to like a couple blocks down, they have their pinball location, um, and it's like you pay, and it's all it's like all evening, come and go as you want, free to play games essentially. So it's like $25 for the arcade, and they had a bundle where like it's an extra $5 for the included the pinball. The game we played was uh, the Spectre Files, Deathstalker,
Yeah, this was an
and
FMV game.
yeah, so we, being a buddy from another buddy from out of state, my spouse and I, we discovered this game as we were leaving the first, like, last time we went, and that was pre-COVID. So this was like, I think this was almost 4 years ago or something like that. And we just happened to come across this thing on the way out, and we remembered it since because we haven't been back, or I haven't been back since then. And that's why our mission was like find this machine and get around to playing this. And so yeah, this is it's a choose your own adventure FMV style game. Scenarios come up and you have one of three options you can pick. uh, and we just camped there for like the first couple hours, just doing, like, failing at this game, and then slowly unlocking our different routes, different options. And yeah, that was this this game is actually on Steam now. It's $10 on Steam. uh, so yeah, it's once again the Spectre Files, Deathstalker. It's if you like a cheesy FMV game, this is straight up produced by the Galloping Ghost. So I was just like, I didn't realize that, but yeah,
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that either.
yeah,
Um, well, it's a good game. Um, it does FMV right, I think. Uh, I don't really know how else to really describe it, but like, as you're going through, there's stuff you just learn what you're supposed to do in this part and what you're not supposed to do, and what's going to happen here and there. And I don't know, it has a thin enough plot, and it gets you into the story, I guess, or into the gameplay, like the real part of the gameplay, quickly enough that it's not boring. Um, Pretty good. I definitely was surprised when we sat down to play it. I was like, "It's probably not gonna be very much fun, or whatever," and we'll bounce in a minute. And it was probably one of, if not the most fun games there. I was really surprised.
it's a great like we there's three of us, so we were able to we all took turns with decision making at each venue, and you have a quick time limit. And it was great because there's three of us, we were able to memorize certain routes a lot easier. Or when you come up to a certain scenario, like, okay, this is what you're supposed to do here. Granted, it gets a little tedious on your like fifth playthrough, and if you happen to come across a certain scenario on multiple runs, you're like, all right, so here, I know what I need to do. If only there was like a press X to skip this scene and just go straight to the decision, because you obviously know what you're supposed to do once you succeed.
Yeah,
But also, when you fail, then you're like, you kind of want to hit that scenario, like, okay, what is the right to succeed at this? And we, yeah, like I said, it was pretty nice just having the extra backup, but it was fun to be able to take turns. I think it's a great game. If you did buy it for the home, for like Steam, I think it'd be great to have drinks with it as well, and
yeah,
just be like, you know, it's a fun, simple way to do it. Or I can also see the opposite effect, being like, okay, now I got to get my notebook and write down each scenario, and like, these were my options, this is what I chose, and it either turned out good or didn't.
yeah,
So next, but yeah, because we thought we had certain ones locked down. We're like, okay, well, we've tried these other two, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a decision that a choice that never came up before popped up, and we're like, well, we were going to pick option C, and now there's a D option as well, that we've never, like, let's just go C because we know that this one comes up more often, and then it doesn't work out. We're like, okay, well, how did D come up? What was the scenario? Was it just random RNG, or so that was a lot of fun. And we didn't get to beat it. We made it pretty far, I felt, but some people, there was a high score up there that was pretty ridiculous.
yeah,
And there's so much like things that we didn't even try covering. So like we generally went through like a certain option in the beginning of the game. We went through the front door kind of, but you can also just go around. And when the moment you go around, there's all sorts of other options for you. And yeah, it's I like those FMV games. It's a lot of fun. It's this plays something like a simpler version of Dragon's Lair, because Dragon's Lair is all instant reflexes, but it's very much a trial by error and memorize your way through.
yeah.
But once again, if you're with the right group of friends, it makes it all the better. So yeah, and then you got to try your hand at a bunch of other arcade games for sure. Uh, and that place is like one of the claims to fame, I guess, is it's open 365, like
Yeah.
every day of the year. It's always open. So just a little too far out to go on the regular for us. But yeah, I'm glad we got to take you there. For myself, the big game I've been playing has been Near Replicant, version 1.22, so on. Um, I got into this because of the concert that we went to, and I was planning on going straight to play Automata, like, but you're like, no, no, it's gonna have a lot to do with the first game. So I'm like, all right, good to know. And I'm glad you said that, because majority of pretty much all the music was from the first game.
Yeah.
The story, the concert had extra, little story snippets for the second, for Automata, but the actual music was from the first, and a lot of the key visuals were from the first. So I'm glad. I actually just finished Route A on that, and then I went ahead and started B, and I got hit by like I don't know a dozen pages of text, like a lot of Kaine's backstory,
Mm.
and I was just like, at a certain point, I'm like it's now really late, and I'm like my vision's getting blurry. I'm like, I'm just gonna go ahead and put my PlayStation to rest mode, and I'm just gonna come back to this later. But I did that game. Route A took me way longer than it naturally should have because um, I did 100% of the side quests, like full on. I did them all. Um, and then I collected majority of the weapons that you could have through the first time around. I did a bunch of other side stuff, like I got a million for the achievements. I got $1 million or whatever the currency is, gold. Um, and I just did a bunch of other stuff. So it's like, yeah, I spent way too much time in the first playthrough, but that just means less time to play. Like my sequential playthroughs will be faster. So I'm at like level 32 by the time I beat the game, uh, which having looked into it a little bit, I'm like, oh, okay. In the beginning of the game, the tutorial, after the character beats like the big boss or like the quote unquote big boss in the beginning, he jumps to level 30 as a hint to be like for the players to be like, hey, maybe you got to be level 30 when you beat this game. So I was at level 32. It was pretty easy. I was just playing it on normal. But yeah, so I don't have to worry about that, and I think I can speed through most of the other stuff now, especially since I'm not doing any side quests. I just have to grind to later on to get like all the extra endings essentially. Because like one of them you have to upgrade, like max out majority of your weapons,
Hmm.
like so 33 weapons, but it doesn't have to be like you because there's DLC tied to this, so you get more weapons than you originally would have.
Yeah.
So at least you can not have to. You can choose not to do certain weapons then that are a little more difficult. So yeah, I really got into it. It was a lot of fun. It was a good story, uh, ish. But like at the same time, I know that there's plenty more story in the B, C, and D endings and E ending, I guess. And that's how generally it is. You have to beat it through 5 times, but at least it's not a from square one. It's like the latter half of the game or some other MacGuffin. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to go through my second playthrough is what I'm doing.
Yeah, I do want to play this game some more. I was thinking about that as I was watching you play some of it, and but I have it on PC on Steam, and I think I'd want to just buy it on PlayStation and play it through there. Partly just to get the trophies, because I got whatever Steam achievements, but I don't care about those. I'd want to restart it, and also kind of just to refresh myself on what was going on, but mostly for the trophies and all that stuff. But anyway, it's probably that might happen someday. We'll see. But I'm glad you've been playing it. Um, it was a good primer for the concert at the very least, among other things.
It really was. And one of the things I did think about is, well, if I got it on Steam, I would just cheat engine it. I think is what I would have done. Just max level or like get all the like currency I needed or something like that. I would have probably like the materials I needed. And I think that was another reason why I chose not to because as well as like it would have been nicer, more convenient, but I wanted to be able to go through. I mean, that's kind of like the experience of this kind of game was like this to experience the stories. You kind of have to go through the slog, and had I just cheated my way through, what current certain key moments would be less meaningful, I think, because
Right.
you wouldn't be as attached to certain people or whatever. You'd just be speed running the thing. Uh, so yeah, that's kind of what I I really do think I'm going to make a good attempt at least trying to get. Um, the full 5 set ending. Uh, also because the fact that I don't have to worry about leveling up at this point anymore. Though I might drop it to an easier setting just to make the battles just go that much quicker. I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to do that yet or not. Um, but yeah, it's just man, some of the dialogue is just like just pages of text, and I'm like, why? I understand budgets were different, like, but when you remade it, you could have made it into a cutscene.
I
You
know.
could have done.
Yoko Taro, that's Yoko Taro for you, man.
Yeah, I was just
Just
like, voice you could have voice acted the thing, but no, it's just like
nope.
here I am at like 1 in the morning and like I was like, I'm just gonna go into the hit B, the B and start just I just want to start it. And they're like, yeah, here's a prequel backstory. I'm like, okay, fine, let me just read this. And they're like, here's part two of that prequel backstory. I'm like, God dang it. And then it's like, and then I finished that one and like, here's a third part. I'm like, I'm just gonna let this rest.
Yeah,
Just put it
yeah.
in
It's
rest
just
mode, walk away.
you have to walk away, man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's like I said, I'm like super grateful that you invited us out to the concert, and I was glad I went ahead and primed myself for this in advance by, like I said, the music. Pretty much a lot of that music was straight up from the first game, and that's why I ended up buying the that vinyl box set. So yeah, it's I am looking forward to finishing it, and I'm more interested now in it makes sense for some of the stuff for Automata that actually like for the anime that when we talked about that and stuff like that. So I was just like, oh yeah, all right. There's that wedding scene, but I didn't see no replica or see no machine life form hanging on the roof like in that anime cutscene. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
well, when we
too
watched
bad.
the anime, you were like, yeah, they're like that's actually a big part of the original story. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wedding scene had no bearing in my mind at all when I saw that. So, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. All right. That's pretty much been the only thing I've been playing. With other than the arcade stuff with you. So, all right. What we've been watching. Uh, so they just dropped the entire third season of the Daily Life of the Immortal King, season 3, all in English, and it had been out for a while in as subtitled, but now it's all dubbed. And I've been watching. That's how I've watched this whole thing is dubbed. I thoroughly enjoy that series. It's meta, it's tongue in cheek, it's a silly series, but it's entertaining all the same. Uh, it's essentially a Chinese backdrop. Like school kids with all sorts of psychic powers. Essentially, is the best way to put it. But I've mentioned this multiple times before, so just give season 1 a watch. If you like it, then yeah, you'll probably stick with it. Season 2 got super meta at the end. Super meta. It was, and then season 3 is just. It may not be the strongest, but it's still nevertheless entertaining. So I ended up binge watching that one throughout the week. Uh, and then
Dang.
one that kind of kicked off in a good way was Solo Leveling. I wasn't too keen on this at first. Like it kind of seemed to be trying to be edgy for edginess sake. It's Solo Leveling is about um, like portals opening up to like fantasy, like weird dungeons, and people get like RPG stats essentially. Certain select people, so they can use mana or whatever, and they have different skill sets. So they become adventurers essentially. Like it's modern day setting, but then you go to a portal Stargate kind of thing, and you wind up in the dungeon. Uh, and you have like this kid who is not very good. He's just a really low level, weak person. Um, and he gets stuck in they go into what they think is a low level dungeon as a group. Turns out there's a trap kind of thing. Um, and it seemed really annoying at the beginning. I don't know. For me, it was just like trying too hard to be edgy or like it kind of had the same vibe as like the first little bit of Gantz or something like that. Like,
Mm.
it's like it's more impactful if you're younger because you hadn't seen anything like that. And you're like, oh wow, that's a cool twist, or that's more violent than you're expecting, or something like that. But for me, it's just like, okay, you got another statue with a manic looking face. Like okay, yep, there's something seriously twisted about it, blah blah blah. But like episode 3, I was watching this in English, and that's when things kind of clicked for me, which is usually the old rule of by episode 3, if it's not good, you drop it. And it kind of clicked in a good way where like okay, now you're catching steam, and now like I went from like okay, I enjoyed episode 3, let me go ahead and watch episode 4, and then I watched episode 5 subbed, both of those subbed. So I'm like, you're right, now I'm invested. So I went from lukewarm to like going to drop it to, you know what, so maybe like a a 3 or 4, probably a 4, to now like a 6. I'm like, all right, maybe a 7 even. Like this is starting to catch steam, and yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. Like by episode 5, I'm curious to see how this plays out because it's either going to go. I think it's either going to get pretty good, or it's going to be like try too hard, be like edge lord, and like, or it'll try too hard to be edgy, and it'll just fall off a cliff. For me, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it was a pleasant surprise. I'm like, and I was glad to at least, uh, I was glad from episode 3 onward so far. So
Yeah, this is one that I did want to watch. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but it was one that I was like, okay, what's all the hype about solo leveling this, this manhwa that's been able to break through. Um, so I hopefully will be able to watch some of it, but haven't had a chance to yet. I haven't been able to watch. I'm watching some stuff, but I'm waiting until I finish it before talking about it on here. I guess I have been also watching Delicious in Dungeon, which is good fun, but it's kind of just same old thing, ongoing, and probably talk about that more after it's finished. But yeah, so not too much to report on my side, but glad you're enjoying Daily Life of Immortal King and solo leveling. And then I probably will be I probably will jump into the Apothecary Diaries because I've been hearing that's good, and you keep telling me it's really good. So anyway,
yeah, it's one of the top ones this time around. It's like up there with Frieren. Um,
yeah,
there's a solid handful of like decent stuff out there. Uh, we got you to watch the first episode of Hokkaido Gals Are Super Adorable.
that was good.
Um,
Yeah,
just have the English dub has them with a Uper accent, and that was surprising to say the least. And it works, and they do a good job on it. So I'm
yeah,
like, okay, good for you. Like
yeah.
I'm enjoying that aspect of it for sure.
It's
Um,
entertaining and still respectful. Yeah.
yeah. So, but all right, that is about it then for today. If you made it through to the end, we appreciate it. And okay, until next time, what words of wisdom do you have for our people today?
Um, go to Chicago and get the pizza.
All right, and also then when you're done with that, Google John Stewart deep dish rant,
That was pretty funny
and
too. Yeah. I mean,
but
he's not wrong, but he's also not right. But he is definitely funny, if nothing else.
yeah, it's entertaining. I just recommend watching it after you eat the pizza.
Yeah.
Therefore, you enjoy the best of both.
Yeah. You'll enjoy the best of both.
All right. Well, until next time, you all take it easy.
Bye.